Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on the journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney West
and Kelly Arundel.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Sid.
How are you?
I am doing all right today.
Good.
I had physical therapy this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I hate physical therapy because it's like you had to add into your schedule.
Yes.
That you don't plan on.
Yeah.
And but I'm kind of at the early stages of it, so it doesn't hurt too much yet.
Oh,
kind
that's
of taking
good.
it easy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm just not conscious of my age, because there's young people in there, and I'm thankful I'm not having to do what they're having to do. You know, they're like sports injury people.
Yeah, and so they're really working.
They're really working.
Yeah.
And then there's old people, and I look and am I one of them?
Am I one of them?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That is so funny.
Feel like, but it's kind of
so
like
funny.
they're really old being rehab.
And you're in the physical therapy where you're kind of like all like
yeah,
you're
there's
in
a whole
one
bunch
big room.
in there.
See, and
Yeah.
I haven't done that type before.
Okay.
Because my pelvic floor
Right.
therapy you do in a
In
room,
one-
like
yeah,
privately,
one-on-one, yeah.
one-on-one, and there's
Right.
some exercises. Yeah, like I had some like lower ab work
Yeah.
I do, and like as you ramped up into it, but most of it was like you're in your room private, and so
Right.
I haven't done that type
Yeah.
of physical therapy
See,
where everybody else can
Yeah,
see.
you're just kind of watching, and you're going, well, I'm glad I don't have to do that one, or whatever. And
And they ramp it
Yeah.
up. You go to your first session,
and
you're like, oh,
this
this
is so
isn't
nice.
bad.
Yeah, and then they gave me these
Simple.
1 pound weights.
Oh,
And I thought,
that sounds nice.
What is this? But then you're doing this weird stuff with your arms,
Yeah,
and
and
it's like, well,
oh,
this
this
gets
is
tiring
heavy.
after 60 of them, But yeah, so it's really funny. So it's like, okay, but I'm trying to be patient
Yes, and
because it takes a while.
it does. But I think physical therapy can do so much more than what
Yes.
people really think.
Oh,
And I think
yeah.
it's a great alternative. Like instead of just turning to surgery and being super invasive,
Yes.
it does take time. And you legit, they can tell if you've done your exercises or not.
Yeah, they
Like
can.
they can
That's
tell
true.
week to week if
Yeah.
you've done them or
Yep.
not.
And so,
you
yeah.
have to keep up with them.
You
but
do.
it is good.
And it has saved me two surgeries at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
and one my shoulder, my torn rotator cuff. It was like,
but you really,
would
I agree.
never-
You only it's like the really young athletes, or
Yeah.
it's like everybody that's
Everybody's
old,
old.
and recovering from their knee
knee
surgery.
right, knee replacements, hips, and it's like I don't know where I fit into. I know that's not
That's
me.
not me.
So I don't
is
know. Maybe
so
I'm
funny.
really not an aware person.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I did have a conversation with my physical therapist
Yeah.
about books
Oh
today.
yes.
So
we'll
it
bring
ties
some
right
of that
in. She gave me a new one that we'll
Yeah,
talk
we'll
about.
talk about perfect.
Yeah.
So we're talking about reading books this week.
Yeah.
And really quick, I want to line up because we'll get into our favorite books and kind of some suggestions.
Sure.
But so benefits of reading. I know there's the obvious that like it helps, you get a larger vocabulary, you become a smarter person in general.
Depending upon the books you read. I'm
That
just
is true
teasing.
too. But it's like,
No, I
yes,
know.
it does make you
does.
smarter because you can process things faster. So that's why it's so important
Yeah.
to teach children to read. And so it
Yeah.
helps their mental intelligence. It also, you have better memory and focus because you're having to remember events that happened that you've read,
Right.
which is a little
Comprehension,
different. Comprehension. It can reduce stress, which I get. It's a type of escapism, for sure. And expands your knowledge, creativity. And then I think a big one that I think reading does and probably has more effect than people think that I've read up about, your ability to empathize and because if you're reading a book and you emotionally, haven't you gotten
I get
connected
it.
to
Yes,
the characters before?
yes.
And so
I
you
get
have
what you're
empathy for this
saying.
character,
Yeah.
and then you can take that into your real life. And even though it's not you have
Yeah.
empathy for somebody else. And like reading, I think just you automatically do it. because you're
realize
empathizing with the
Yeah.
characters and what they're going through, and that's the whole
Yeah.
point. That's what a good author does,
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
make you
that's
empathize
true.
with their characters.
Yeah.
You know?
I hadn't
And
thought
so I
about
think
that.
there's like emotional growth too that happens when you read even fantasy
Yeah.
novels and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It can help you. So, yeah.
I love it. Yeah. To me,
Yes.
it just takes you to different places.
Yeah. Have you always read?
I
Because you read a ton. I mean,
I love
you
to read.
You love
I
to read.
do.
Have you always? Like,
I
even
remember
as
as a kid, I'd read Nancy Drew. Those were some of my favorite ones.
Yes.
You know, all the mystery. I liked mystery even back then.
Oh, I loved mystery books.
And
And
not-
Party Boys.
Yeah,
I read a ton of
all
those.
right? And I can remember, and I read Little House on the Prairie books.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. And I can remember when you were little, I'd try to get you to read them, and you're like, "Ugh." You would not read. And it was when the
Lemony Snicket
came along,
Yes,
and
that's
you
when I
were
really
like,
started.
"These are the types of books I want."
Because I did some Junie B. Jones. I did some
Yeah,
Magic
I did those
Treehouse
too,
things,
yeah.
you know. But yeah, it was fourth grade. My fourth grade teacher. Oh, I only remember her name because it was funny. She was Miss Swanson, and then she got married and became Miss Clydesdale. So it was the joke. She went from a swan to a horse.
That's funny.
So funny.
That
But she
is
read
good.
us the first book in that series, like out
Okay,
loud, like
right.
during homeroom
And that's
time and
when
stuff.
you-
And then that's when I was like, oh, well, I've got to find out what happens next. And
They're
so I
in my
read
attic
the whole.
if you ever look for them again.
I will want them. I
know
think they're a
you will.
great series. And just
yeah,
and I
they
think
are.
I think reading Lemony Snicket, because it's just dry, straightforward. The funny's in there, but you gotta
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
get the sarcasm. And then I think that's what led me to really love Ernest Hemingway.
Oh,
it's a very
okay.
similar,
Okay.
here's to the point
right.
type. And yeah, he goes on some rants and stuff, but Ernest Hemingway does too.
Yes.
Goes on
Yeah.
these couple of monologues, but like a lot of the action part of it is like boom, boom, boom. It's just to the point.
Okay.
So I think
That's
that's,
good.
why I
Yeah.
liked it. Yeah.
But once you found, I think
Once
you-
I found
you're-
it, but that
once
was
you
like
found-
late, fourth
not-
grade.
Not really late. I mean, we read up till then.
Yeah,
But, you
yeah.
know, but you have to find what you like. And then try to stretch at times. But,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah. Did you like read in high school and stuff too? Like no?
I didn't read a lot in high school. I
Okay.
read some.
Yeah.
I know I
Yeah.
did. You know,
Yeah.
whatever I had to at school, but even beyond
Even
that,
beyond that,
I
yeah.
did read.
Yeah.
And then college kind of didn't.
'Cause you have
you're
college
just studying
stuff, yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, then I
And kept
read.
up with it
Yes.
over, yeah.
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 And I can tell my mood by what I'm reading.
Yes, I know, right?
So,
it does
yeah.
affect it.
It does.
Do
Yeah.
you read? You read mostly paper.
No, I really have a mix now.
Okay,
It depends on
okay.
what I'm reading. If I'm reading a book with a group
Yeah.
or a book that I know I'm going to want to remember some quotes or some things
then you'll
from
buy
that,
it.
that really hit me,
No.
then I will, then I'll
Buy
purchase.
paper,
I
yeah.
like the paper. But I've done a lot more on Kindle.
Yeah.
And
I've
every
seen you
once
read
in a
on your
while,
laptop, yeah.
I'll listen to something while I walk.
Oh, okay. See, that's one thing I haven't gotten into, really. I have not gotten into Audible or like audiobooks very much.
Yeah.
I think there have only been a couple that I've really listened to. I think it's because I don't remember it as well.
Right.
I'm a very visual. Like even, in school, I'd like read my textbook and I could remember. I was like, oh, it's about this far in the book. It's not like perfect photographic memory, but like, oh, I remember reading on this side of the page.
Yes.
So let me look for it there.
Yeah.
And so I think I just remember that better with reading. But I definitely, man, I used to buy a ton of paper books. A ton. But then now I was kind of like reviewing my library and stuff. And I was like, oh, like almost all of my books that I've read in the past like 2 years are on my Kindle app.
Well, they take up so much space.
Yes.
And I still like them, but still,
Yeah.
it's like, then what do you do with them?
Yes. But I agree. If it's
Try
a
to
book
pass
that I
them
think,
on.
okay,
Yeah.
I want, like, I think this will have some good knowledge for me. I'll want to do it again.
Right.
Then I'll do that. And obviously for Charles, all of,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
just going to be stuck with a ton of children's
Yeah,
books forever.
but they're good. I still have
But
some
they've
of
got to
yours,
be, I think they got to read paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like for my own stuff now, I definitely catch myself either reading on my phone or just use my laptop or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. But I know a lot of friends that do like audiobooks and stuff, which I guess is
I do
good.
too.
I really cannot remember
I'm
a book as
picky
well.
I'm picky about the voice.
Yes, has to be a good
And
book.
then I maybe if I drove a lot,
Yeah,
I
see,
would,
and these are
but
people
when
that are
I-
on commutes.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I walk some if I walk in the afternoons, I put on something, but it's usually some Zen thing,
Oh, yeah,
Buddhism thing or something that
Yes.
just talks you about living your life this way.
Yes,
and just
being in the moment,
It's something that I
yeah.
don't have to
Think about.
necessarily remember, but
Yeah.
has some
Yeah, something to have.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about the only time
Yeah.
I do that.
So, do you want to jump into
Sure.
our book? So, I kind of made mine into categories. I don't know
I know.
how you wrote
I
yours
tried to
out.
copy your categories, but
Okay.
we'll
Do you
see
want to
what we
start
get.
with the fun book? No, let's start with the self-help.
Let's
and then
start
we can
with
end
self-help
with
if we want.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I tried to narrow it down to like 2 or 3
Okay.
per category.
Yeah.
So my 2, and this is a book that I actually believe everybody should read. Like everybody should read it. Life is in the Transitions. And it's by Bruce Feiler, I think is how you say his last name. And it's really about most of your life is in an unsettled state. Most of your life is full of these and having this time to adjust. So let's say one transition is you graduate from college, so you're moving out of your parents' house and you're starting this part of your life. That those big ones can take 5 to 7 years to then feel fully settled. He's done it, and in the book it talks about all the research he's done and whatever. So there's a lot of stuff to back this up. But it shows 5 to 7 years, and there are smaller ones that happen, but that can take 1 to 2 years. Like if you add a dog to your family, that may not be as big of a change, but that's a small, and it takes a couple of years to adjust. And how your entire life is just. A change happens. How do you adjust to it? You might have a year or two stability, then something else is going to happen.
Drops.
And so how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the change and moving forward?
And because I read that book too, and it's about that, and he did studies on the way people, those who adjust better to those, and how that traits of how they move through them. That was it was a fascinating book to me too, because once he said that, it was like, of course it is.
And
of course it is.
And a lot of the book, I felt like too, is just proving you truly cannot compare what your life is doing to anybody else's. And anybody you meet, there's like a 75% chance they're probably going through a transition period.
Yeah.
Just like if you're feeling unsettled, the person next to you is probably feeling the same way.
Yeah. That was a good book.
It's so good.
I know.
Life changing. I was going through. I need to read it again.
I know, right?
I'm going to read it again for sure. And then the other one I have in this category is we've mentioned it before on the podcast. Fear by Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah. I'm a very anxiety prone person, and ever since I was a child, the unknown or being like, wait, how does this really and just stepping into it is very difficult. And his stuff to me, I mean, some people I could see Thich Nhat Hanh's writings as surface level, but to me, if you really dig into it and really question and think, wait, what is he really saying? And am I following? It's like it gets deep. But I can see if you read it on the side.
His writing style is so simple. But these are books that I have to stop and go, okay, now you don't read any further. And just
really
live with
think
this
about
one for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. And so this is one of those books. It's like you have to really think of how am I feeling inside? How is, what's his guidance on how to change, Those are kind of my 2 big self-help books.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have down a book that Paul introduced.
I know what it is.
Crucial Conversations.
So
Tools for talking when the stakes are high.
Yes.
And there's 4 authors.
This book.
And there's they have a follow-up with it too. But
oh my gosh.
Crucial Conversations. And
he references his book multiple times a year.
He does, because I don't care what conversation you have. They're hard. So many of life's conversations are hard.
Yes.
And this guides you, whether it be in business, whether it be in family, friends,
all
personal,
of it.
No matter what because especially in today's society, and somebody says something to you, you get your defenses up, and this is just a book that just levels that. It just really, it
teaches you, you don't know what's going on in the other person's head. You don't know how what you said was perceived. Right. So it all boils down to what is their truth. And then what's my truth, and how do we find a middle ground? Exactly. It's about finding a same purpose, same goal.
Yeah, it really is good.
And focusing on that. It's a great book. Yes.
The other one, I had Life in Transitions written down. And then the other one is Living Beautifully with Uncertainty and Change by Pema Chodron.
I haven't heard of that one.
And it's about living beautifully, living in a wonderful, life is hard, but we can see the beauty in it. And change and uncertainty, that's life. Yeah. Is impermanent. There's nothing that doesn't change.
Yes.
And so how do you live in a peaceful manner through that?
That's cool.
And it's a really good book. She has several out there, but Living Beautifully, I did that recently with a group.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my Monday group, and it was really good.
Quite the theme with our self-help books.
Yeah, so there's a ton. Yeah.
And then, okay, I couldn't think of a category. It's people focused because I enjoy reading books about group psychology.
Oh, right.
Mostly, so as a conductor and musician, I want to know what bonds people together.
That's great.
You know, what brings people together. And so I purposefully read this book called The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. And it is excellent in just showing how these like he talks about Pixar, he talks about, I think, Zillow or some other companies that it's just like, this is how they build their company culture and get everybody behind the same page and building a culture that doesn't bring anybody else down, makes people want to have the same goal, makes people feel included. It's just all about how to get people to work and want to be together. Yeah. So it's it's a great book. Yeah. If you're, especially if you're the Culture Code. And it's easy read. And like, I think if you're in education, in business, in a field where it's like you're working with groups of people all the time, I think it's a good read. Yeah, because I did it before I started the community orchestra. Yeah, to try and build, because it's about building culture. How do you do that successfully?
And you did that well.
And then my other one was, you introduced me to this, Holy Envy by Barbara Brown Taylor. And this one is all about how she is Christian, but it's like how she has this holy envy of other religions and what they believe and how she thinks it's cool and like what she wants to take from their practices and bring it to her own, and how, you know, you don't just have to follow one path. You can bring in all these other experiences. Yeah. So those are my two for that. But
I put one down that I haven't read that I just got passed to me that I want to read. And it's called The Unwritten Rules of Social Relationships.
Ooh.
Decoding the Social Mysteries Through Autism's Unique Perspectives. Oh. And it's by Temple Grandin and Sean Barron.
Okay.
And
that would be good.
I think, and because I think we have our own narrow perspective.
Yes.
But what are the social rules? We just assume that they're there and we know them. But I think that'll be interesting to open my eyes up to go, oh,
this is how other
this
people.
Is not natural, you know, for everybody.
For everybody, yeah.
And part of it is maybe you're on the spectrum. Part of it is you might not have been taught. But I had a hard time because I went from people focused because some of it to spiritual.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I had Barbara Brown Taylor's book Learning to Walk in the Dark.
Oh.
And what happens?
She has a lot of good books.
Yeah,
you can just go down the rabbit hole of Barbara Brown Taylor.
You could, and her writing style is very welcoming and very easy, but there's a lot of depth to it. And so, what do you do when the dark times come?
Yeah.
How do you find your way? Oh. Not moving too fast.
Yeah.
Taking it slow. Kind of like if you wake up at night.
Yeah.
And you're going and you get up to go to the bathroom, you kind of adjust yourself, right? You know your room, but you still, don't want to hit your shin. So,
that's good.
And then I have two more, but they're the spiritual because I don't know. Okay, so Living Buddha, Living Christ.
Oh yeah.
By Thich Nhat Hanh. We keep bringing him on, but he does a wonderful way of showing the similarities of Christ and Buddha and the faith that we have.
Yes.
And then one last one is Life of the Beloved.
Okay.
Living Spiritual Living in the Secular World by Henry Nouwen. And he's it's been around the house for a while. It's an older book, but it's just a good one. It's that we all are, you're beloved, no matter who you are.
No matter what.
You're beloved, and until you come to know that, it's hard to live and love others. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a good.
No, those are all good. It's spiritual, but it's like more like
daily live. For me, spiritual is how do I live day to day?
How do I live with others and with myself? Yes.
Yeah, that's what spiritual
those are great
is
books.
to me.
Yeah. Okay, now we can move on to our fun ones.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I love historical fiction.
Those others were fun.
They're fun. No, they're fun.
I know.
But these are more fun.
Yes.
I love historical fiction. Okay. I had mentioned Ernest Hemingway earlier.
Yes.
And that's one of my books. For Whom the Bell Tolls. It's influenced by his experience during the Spanish Civil War and what he went through as an ambulance driver. Yeah, ambulance driver and stuff. And
As a what?
No, he wasn't.
Ambulance driver?
He kind of helped, like, kind of the resistance fight. He was, like, part of it. And was an observer to that. And so he basically, like, wrote this kind of historical fiction / autobiography-ish thing. Anyway, it's a really great book for whom the bell tolls. Again, straightforward writing that I really enjoy. But everybody only thinks about him for The Old Man in the Sea.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And everybody hates it.
Oh, I liked it. I don't know what that was about.
I don't know why.
I liked it.
But his other books are very good. And reading that book, oh man, I just went into a whole like few months of reading a ton of books about the Spanish Civil War. It was really good. And then The Rose Code by Kate Quinn is about women during World War II, I believe specifically in England, and how they helped crack codes like to like cracking the German hacks and stuff to try and figure out where all their troops are, whatever they were doing with that. Yeah, and how the women like helped with the code breaking and stuff. It was very interesting. I like that one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you minored in history, so you have a love of that, and I have no books under that, so I skipped that one. And what I said instead was I don't read a lot of, but I do like autobiographical ones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there are two that I'll bring up. Madeleine Albright. She has two. Her first one. Both of them are really good.
Yeah.
And she has such a unique perspective.
Yes.
You know, as Secretary of State at that time and the first female. And
she was. Yeah.
And one of my favorite stories she has is they were doing, group pictures of all these dignitaries, and she had gotten something on her skirt. And she could just, because she was wearing a skirt, she could just flip it around. And nobody would know, right?
That's so good.
But anyway, she just has fantastic stories and just great sense of humor and insightful. So and then the other one is another Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice.
I knew you were going to say her.
Yes. And I didn't write the name of it down. It's
her
Ordinary, Extraordinary. Appearance. And anyway, so that is a really good book too.
Yes.
So I don't.
Good job drawing from both sides.
Autobiographical I like, but I do. That's right. And the interesting thing is that Madeleine Albright's father taught Condoleezza Rice.
That's funny.
So it's,
that's cool.
But
that's
anyway,
cool.
So I threw that in there for
that's good instead.
You said historical fiction.
I know.
With the other.
Okay, and then the next fun / mystery, because I also really enjoy like mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So this first one, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. It's more of a sci-fi fun book by Stuart Turton. And it's one, so I read it with my friend Cassie, and both of us, every time we think about all the books that we've read, it's like this one. And if you want a book, so you know how a lot of books nowadays are starting to take the perspective of like, they write, this chapter is this character, this chapter is another character, this chapter, it's like The Measure, if you've read that, kind of does that. And so I know some people have said that it's like, oh, it's hard to keep track of all the characters and what they're doing. No, this book will teach you how to do it. Okay. So this guy wakes up every day in this house as a different person trying to solve this mystery of who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. And every day he wakes, he's living the same, it's like a Groundhog Day type thing, but he's jumping into the different people.
Oh.
And so he has to remember what did this, and so you're reading it from his perspective, and then you're like, oh, yesterday he was this character, now he's seeing it like this. It's crazy, but it is so good.
Okay,
I'll try it again. So good. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Then the other one that I have is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Love that book. It was very, it's pretty truthful. It's pretty truthful. It's very, and kind of like, it's a sad murder that they're investigating, but it is very, I really enjoyed reading that one. Yeah.
Okay, well, I have some series. I have Louise Penny series set in Quebec by Inspector Gamache.
Okay.
And there's a TV show. Don't go after that.
Not good.
I didn't enjoy it. The characters, this is my problem with reading books anyway.
Oh,
the
you
characters
envision
are
it different.
so quirky and wonderful. And then I didn't think they translated when they did the series. But anyway, it's really good. Louise Penny. And it's a little deeper mystery, I think.
That's good.
Anyway, so that one. And then for my just when I want to escape, the type of mysteries I read, there's Sue Grafton has a series. A is for this, B is for that.
I remember, and we would buy you that for like your birthday.
Every year, right? And they're just fun. It was
Yes.
before cell phones. This detective, it was just fun. It's a female detective
series,
and
yeah.
just really
And she literally has
fun.
every single letter of the alphabet.
Except for Z, because she passed away. And there was never a Z.
No.
I kid you not. I'm not laughing. But
That's
yes.
awful.
And her family said, no, there will not be.
Wow.
We're not going to put another one. We're not going to have a ghost story. This isn't it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I get it. If she didn't have any notes about it, you have no clue what she wanted to be.
and
then
it's not there. So anyway, but that is my escapism.
So you'll have 25
Yes.
books to read.
And then Janet Ivanovich.
Okay.
She has a ton of just they're mysteries. She has some series out there. And again, those are my life is hard and I don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to read these mysteries and pretend nothing is happening around me. So those are mine.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then I kind of have like an extras thing. I have 2 books that I just wanted to throw in there anyway. One you gave to me. Zorba the Greek.
I love that.
By I can't even say his name.
I probably can't either. What?
Nikos Kazantzakis. No.
How do you spell it?
Kazantzakis.
Okay. It's with a K.
Yeah, it's with a K.
Zorba. I love that
So
book.
you gave it and you're like, this is really fun. This is a great book. I was like, okay. And so I started reading it, and this character, Zorba, is like, oh my God, he's going to do whatever he wants and does not care. And just just living life to the fullest.
That's why I like
In
it.
all of the ways you can live life to the fullest.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It is just the things I read in this book. It was hilarious and shocking all at the same time.
Yes.
It was good. It was really funny. So if you just want something where like, this is going to be ridiculous, and I'm just going to read it.
It's ridiculous, but you know what? It has one of my favorite little stories, little quips from it.
Yeah.
Is when he came across a butterfly.
Yeah.
No, a cocoon.
Oh, yeah.
And he so wanted to watch the butterfly come out.
Yeah.
So he breathed his hot breath onto it so the cocoon would open faster. Yeah. And he kept doing that. And it slowly came out.
But it wasn't ready.
But the butterfly wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. And they say, what a lesson.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good.
So that's
what
I love that book,
little wise
though.
quips.
I need to read that again.
And then my other one, because as a musician, I also like to read. This is a kind of historical fiction book, but based on music called The Vexations. And it's about Eric Satie. Or is this a man? Anyway, Caitlin Horrocks, and it's a really good, just like fun book about this pianist's life. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. Well, I have just a few. I just put under the topic of novels. I think I told you about this one. You didn't like it. The Most Fun We Ever Had by Claire Lombardo. And it's about a family and multi-generational, and the kids they're all adults now, and they have their own perspective of what was going on in childhood and their parents. Yeah. And it was nothing like what was really going on with their parents. So it's difficult, but it's also fun. The Most Fun We Ever Had. And then A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mazir, and it's an Indian Muslim family. And an estranged son comes back, and the bonds and stuff like that. Anyway, that's a good one.
Oh, that sounds good.
And The Bean Trees by Barbara Kingsolver.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good. I was looking at that book, and it's all marked up. Somebody must have had to read that for class.
I'm pretty sure
somebody borrowed my book, and
I'm pretty sure
I've got every color highlighted in there now.
That was me.
But that was a good. That's what
I do to every book.
But that was a good book. And then,
yes, I was right. Okay, sorry. I had to look up this book. It is Eric Satie. That was my bad.
And I'm looking up because, as I told you this morning, my physical therapist mentioned a book, and I just looked. It's called Verity, Verity.
Okay.
By Colleen Hoover.
Okay.
And it's a psychological thriller.
Ooh.
And it's about an author who comes in to finish up some ghostwrite for another author who's been ill. Yeah. Who's ill. Her husband says, would you finish this for her?
Yeah.
but she finds some other writings, and it's really dark, and it's like, anyway, it's a
good.
psychological thriller.
Okay.
So if
I
you
would
like that.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
good. Yes. Yeah, there are book recommendations if you want to
Yeah,
take
and I
any
love
of
to hear
those.
what other people are reading and
Yes.
what they take away from it.
Yes,
And,
reading is good for you. It's like one of the things that I didn't do for a bit, and then my friend Cassie and I don't know, it's been maybe 3 years now, something like that. For a while, we kind of just made up our own little book group, and and that kind of helped me just kickstart. Now she reads a ton of books on her own, and I'll read, maybe one or two on the side,
right.
along with like our main book we're reading. But it just got me back into the habit. It's just you got to start the habit, and so I highly recommend if you have a friend that's like, I want to read too, just like.
And y'all read all different kinds.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just...
We jump between, like, parenting books. We jump to, like, fun books, like the 7 Deaths of Emily Hardcastle. We'll jump to... we've done, like, spiritual books. We've done a whole array. So, you don't have to stick with just one. But, yes, it's just the habit and getting into it.
It is.
I swear, it's, like, usually once I'm like, I'll just start and read a little bit. And sometimes I do only read a little bit. And other times I'm like, I just read for an hour,
Yeah,
Which
and you
is
just
nice.
sit... when you have that time. Yeah. So...
Definitely.
I do.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah.
So you read a book.
Yeah.
And then you hear the movies coming out.
Oh. I usually...
I mean, Harry Potter's, we're not
That's
talking
different.
that.
No,
we're not talking that.
I'm talking like... Because
like
there's
the
a book...
chemistry book or whatever.
Lessons in Chemistry I did read, and I
read
watched the
that one.
series.
Okay, I didn't even watch
and then there's one I read, It Ends With Us, that's now going to be a movie with Blake Lively coming out. And I'm always iffy. Sometimes I'll look at the reviews and kind of just see if people say it's close to the book or not. And if it's not very close to the book, then I don't... And the Lessons in Chemistry, that's not super... I mean, they changed it in some good ways, but it's just not close to the book.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to go in being like, okay, this isn't going to be like it was in my mind.
Yeah. And so many, sometimes the characters, I have their voices. I have all that in my head.
And then it's like...
And the only movie...
Yeah. Oh, I know.
The only movie that I go, oh my gosh, that was just the way I read it in my head, is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yep.
It's like that could not have been.
So good. It's a great movie, even today.
Yeah, it is. And so, but a lot of times I won't go to the movie because
it's not.
Especially if I just love the characters in my head, that and how I envisioned them, then I'm like, well, I already know what happens. I don't need to see it.
Yes.
So,
no, I get that. So I sometimes will. That's a good question. Sometimes will, sometimes won't. Yeah, definitely.
So.
And then we don't know yet what we're doing next time. We'll
don't.
figure it out. It'll be a surprise
It's summer,
week.
and so we get to fly by the seat of our
Hopefully
pants at times, right?
Yes.
See what's coming up.
Yes.
I love it.
It'll be good. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, summertime.
Yep.
So, we don't have anything else.
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, I do. Yes. So tell us on Instagram. I'll make a post what you're reading, what you like, and follow us on Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can always email us at incompleteguide@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, look forward to next Tuesday when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.